It's about relationships, it's about connections. Our business is very well intertwined with the client and the feeling, the personal feeling that you get off the bat, as well as referrals, and the work that we do when we deliver.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bespoke. I'm Christina Hogyu.
I'm Sarah Zohar, lead designer and owner of Sarah Z Designs.
And we're so happy to have you here. So, for today's episode, we're kicking off a brand new series called Concept to Completion, where we basically break down for you the beginning to end of our most popular projects. And today, we're getting into Bellini.
Yes, we are.
Yes, it's a big fan favorite. What was the scope of work here? What was the vision for the design?
So it's just hard to get into the scope of work because it was such a large scale
Huge.
project. When I had met the client, I had met the husband. He did a walkthrough. He had just purchased the units. It was 2 units in Bell Harbor, and part of the scope was combining the two
Two
units to create a flawless design where you didn't want it to become apparent that it was two separate units, but one. So how do you transition from unit one to unit two without kind of making it obvious that it was 2 units?
Exactly. So it's like taking both of them and creating kind of a seamless flow. So it feels like that's how it started off. That's what was supposed to look like
Well,
the
it
entire
didn't
time.
start off that
Right.
way so easily,
Right.
but when you walk in as a designer, and I think that was one
Right.
of the main things that I was mentored upon is as a designer, you have to walk into a space and visualize the outcome of what the space is going to
What
look
it could
like.
be.
And walking into the space, it was just beyond gorgeous because you had these expanse windows and
Yes.
sliding doors onto the ocean. And standing from unit one to unit two, there was this minimal enclosed hallway where it didn't fit the space.
Right.
From 1 second, I'm staring into this huge space where it's open into nature, and then I'm turning and I'm looking into this long hallway that's kind of small and dark. So my first vision being in the space was like, okay, how do I open this up where I could see the view into unit two from unit one into such a long hallway?
Right, and it's a very long hallway. Obviously you've been on site. I was on site my very second day on the job, and I couldn't believe that was 2 units combined into one because of how seamlessly you guys were able to create that flow.
Right.
Right.
So, and that's where collaboration, we've spoken about collaboration in the past, where this is where you start collaborating with, we do design builds. So our
Right.
GCs are in-house, which is a really added value to the client. But
Huge.
you start collaborating with the architect and the engineer and the in-house team to see, okay, so what are the next steps? How could we expand this hallway to create this expanse walkthrough and a view, kind of integrating architectural into the hallway without making it seem like a hallway?
Right.
And that, I think that that was one of the focal and genius points that we ended up executing by expanding the hallway and using the concrete columns that were weight bearing as architectural features and creating these lights that protruded onto the
Yes. Those
columns,
beautiful
sconces.
sconces.
So that gave it an architectural feel, as well as running the floor in a herringbone pattern where you look down, your interest,
It's like
just your
you're
eyes were
drawn to it.
caught to the floor,
You're right.
and then creating a ceiling design where it was just like one after the next, and then actually being able to see the view
Stunning.
on the second unit.
Yeah, so it's a, like we said, pretty big project, units
Yes.
into one, 9 bathrooms, 6 bedrooms. How did you meet these clients, and what made you say, like, yeah, this is a job for us? Designs can take this on.
So they were referred to us
Mhm.
by previous clients and friends. We went there for an interview for a consultation. They were interviewing another design firm and another GC. But when I spoke to the client, we just had a good connection. And that's what I always say. It's about
Yes.
relationships, it's about connections. Our business is very, well intertwined with the client and the feeling, the personal feeling that you get off the bat, as well as referrals,
Right.
and the work that we do when we deliver. So,
Exactly. And we're so lucky to have clients that we connect so well with because I feel like that just makes the design aspect so much easier.
of
Like when
course.
they're comfortable enough to tell you like what they want to see in their home without any reservations.
Well, that's part of it.
Maybe that's a big
They
reason.
have to trust you. So that first connection is super important because if they trust you from the start, and a lot of times, I give them a background story about how I got started and
Right.
what we are and who we are as a company, and we do work together. And the background of my dad, as the philosophy of bringing him as a GC for
Yeah.
62 years into Sarah Z, and the philosophy of Sarah Z with integrity and honesty and just overseeing everything and making life easier for the client.
Right.
I think that goes a long way.
Of course.
And also then executing the vision from the 3D renderings, concept renderings, design, construction drawings to the final product when
Right.
they're not even around
Right. On
or
site
on
to
site, and
right.
you're overseeing everything is humongous
Right. Because a
for
lot of,
the client.
right. And a lot of the times these are like clients' second homes, like out of state. So they
Correct.
can't always be here
Yeah.
to oversee or watch us while we're doing the entire thing.
Right.
So it's good to
So
know that they can trust us to take care of these things without
100%.
having to be like physically present here.
Right. So with them,
Right.
we had a few, maybe 4 or 5 initial meetings, selections, concept renderings, and a lot of it was back and forth, but they did come out a few times to check on the progress of the
Right.
project. But overall, for that scope of work and that size project, it's really minimal, because we took on the entire responsibility
Right.
upon us, which the client was like amazed.
Overjoyed,
And
I'm
yes,
sure.
of course.
Because like that saves a lot in the long run as well, having it like having us all like a one-stop shop, you know,
Correct. So from concept to
to
architectural drawings to 3D renderings to execution and procurement of all the finishes, to purchasing. So
right.
you become their purchasing agent,
Yep.
and
To
then
set up.
construction to complete turnkey setup,
Yep.
delivery. I mean, all the way
Accessorizing.
to the finest pantry,
Yeah.
item, from water bottles in the refrigerator to bedding on the bed to complete turnkey.
Yep,
You hand them the
100%.
key and they move in, and
And
that's it.
that's it, you know, the Sarah Z special.
Yes.
Truly. Well, how did they describe the mood or feeling that they wanted when they walked into the home? Like, what did they want to see?
So they're very family oriented.
Yeah.
They have 4 beautiful children. They have cousins, and the main thing that was super important for them was having family, entertainable spaces, having the entire family. So, like, the rooms were designed in mind with double queen beds or full beds based on the space
Right.
and the layout. So the cousins could come stay with them for winter break or holidays and just entertain the entire family. 2 kitchens, so
Right.
2 spaces, a kitchen and a club room for the kids
Yes.
and the younger
Like an
kids,
entertainment
and
area.
entertainment area, and then a real kitchen for the cooking and entertainment of a great
Right.
room off a dining room. But
Yes.
at the same time, they wanted just a very relaxed, beachy feel.
Yes.
And of course, biophilic design
Of
came into
course.
play.
Yeah. We are your foremost specialists.
Yes.
Yes. But when tackling such a large scale project, where do you even begin?
Usually you begin by doing a few walkthroughs, and visualizing what the space is going to look
Hmm.
like. then incorporating all the client's wants and needs
Right.
because we are designing for the
Of
client. We're not
course.
designing for us. So it's very important and imperative to listen to the client, take down all the notes of what they want, what they envision, what their lifestyle is. Do they have kids? Do they have pets? Do they want kid-friendly fabrics? Do they want pet-friendly rugs?
Right.
And just really sit and listen to the client, see their vision, and then execute their vision. So, as much as are the storytellers and we put everything together and we could advise, well, don't use this fabric because it's going to stain, but we
Right.
could give you something similar, or, raise the ceilings here, or I don't want to see a return here because it's not conceptually visual to the eyes.
Right.
But really tackling everything from start to finish with their vision in mind.
Right.
Everything is about the client. It's not about
Right,
us.
because at the end of the day, this is a place where they're creating their memories. They live there. They entertain their families. They're creating memories with their
Of
children.
course.
So we want it to be a space that they feel is true to them and
Right.
what they
And
want.
with this particular client, she knew what she liked. It was more, the construction interaction was more with him, but like the
Right.
design aspect was more with her. She knew what she liked. She knew what she was, wanting as far as, so that kind of helps the designer
100%.
because if a client knows what they like and they're quicker to make decisions, it runs much smoother.
It does, especially since we're on a bit of a time crunch
Of
with this
course, we
project.
were.
So it's really, really great when a client has a clear concept in mind and an outline for us to kind of follow so that we could deliver the result that they would like, that they love.
100%. And like I always say, so design is an evolution, it
Yes.
evolves, right? So when you're putting things together and you're so passionate, oh my God, look what I'm doing here and look what I'm doing here. And why don't we add to that biophilic feel and add palm wall
Right.
coverings into the ceilings? Because when I'm sitting on the sofa, to me, the ceiling is just as important as the
Yes.
floor. The clients don't always know that, and they're like, "Sarah, wall coverings in the ceiling?"
Yeah.
100%. And that room ran,
Yes, it was
right, and it was
gorgeous.
nominated for an award in the
Yes, it
International Design
was.
Awards. So, it evolves, and you just have to kind of teach them and empower that what we're doing is the right thing and to trust
Right.
the process, which was easier with this client because
100%.
they've done this before. Um, but just hold their hand throughout. And sometimes, we as designers or as a team, sometimes we're like, oh, but they're so needy. Not this particular client.
Right.
The client is so needy. And we have, WhatsApp chats that they want instant answers. But we always, and I always say this to you as my team,
Right.
and I keep that in mind that if they knew how to do this on their own,
They
they
would.
wouldn't hire us.
Right.
And sometimes they just want to be reassured by the decisions. They're spending a lot of money.
Right.
And we
It's a
have
huge
to hold their
investment.
hand, of course, through
Yeah.
the process. And
eh,
that's our job. We're the
Holding their hand is a
professionals.
big part of the job.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like when you're making those types of large investments, you want to be cued in throughout the process, of course.
100%. And you want to
Right. You
know
don't want
that
to
you're
feel in the dark.
trusting the designer, and it's better to make changes on paper where it doesn't cost anything versus in the field where there's a real mistake and then it could cost you thousands of dollars.
Exactly. So honestly, like that open communication that we form with the clients, it's beneficial on both ends for them and for us.
It's a
It's a
must.
must.
It's a must. You have to have that open communication. You cannot fear calling your clients. So in the beginning of my career, I sat with a huge, huge CEO that people don't even reach. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like I had, like political figures that I'm like, oh my God, I
Right.
think they called me by mistake. And I would be like, but you cannot be scared to talk to the clients. It's much better to communicate the point
For sure.
across than to make a decision on your own and then eat it or,
Of course.
say, well, I never approved this or it's on you or it's me. So as a as a professional, you have to constantly remember that you are designing for them. So it's not your decision, it's the client's decision.
Right. And in business and in life, communication is key.
That's it. Even
100%.
in marriage.
Yep. Like the design trickles into
Especially,
everything,
yes.
honestly. But yeah, when it came to the construction planning and lighting process, what were your biggest challenges taking that on?
So I'm a huge advocate of always raising the ceilings, raising the
Yes.
ceilings.
We love high
If I could
ceilings.
take apart the slab from the building, I would. But I can't. And my team and David and everybody that works with us know that I'm very careful in the way that we design the mechanical, the lighting. We're huge on ceiling designs. I try to hide the mechanical in a place where I minimize lowering the ceilings and
Mhm.
and keep that height and keep that open airiness, especially when you're on the ocean and you're seeing those large expanse
Those
views.
views.
And as far as lighting plays a major role.
Major.
It comes with, we do a lot of home automation and smart homes, especially being that the clients don't live here and this is a second and third home, so they can control everything remotely. But being in Florida and in South Florida and on, an eastern exposure, it's super important for sustainability, for mechanical, for lowering the electrical bills,
Mhm.
to have a home automation where you could control the shades and you can have special UV on the windows to protect the furnishings and LED lights, smart appliances. So we take everything into account. It's a lot of planning.
Right.
It's a lot of designing. It's months. We even specialize in designing the shades and the way the treatments open based on the mullions. So we're sitting with the engineers at Crestron or, our glazing engineers to sit exactly to see which way the windows are sliding so we can have the seams on the shades. So it takes a lot of planning, a lot of
A lot of
technicalities,
attention to
a
detail.
lot of attention to detail. And listen, when you're designing that size or that scope, which is close to
Right.
9,000 square feet, mistakes are bound to happen,
Of
and they
course.
do happen. But you know what? You fix them, you collaborate, and that's where your team members and your vendors come in, and they're great because they help you fix them.
Right.
So,
Speaking of mistakes, were there any particular bumps in the road that stand out to you that you remember from that
yes,
period?
definitely. I'll never forget my millwork company had a new installer and they installed all the top fillers. We did 12-inch fillers because I wanted to frame out the kitchen,
Right.
and they seamed it in the wrong places and they didn't meet the actual um, layout of the veneer, and they didn't match it. And I walk in and I saw black, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I
Mhm.
tried to contain myself.
Right. A
Woosah!
real big deep breath.
And I call my millwork company and I said, you have to meet me here ASAP because I am going to make you rip out the entire kitchen. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I'll wait for you here. Just calm. Let me take a
Right.
breather. He came and he said, absolutely not. This is
Of
not
course.
acceptable. And this is where we come in and the client knows that we advocate for them.
Right.
We charge the client a certain amount. We deliver a close to perfect product. They ripped out the entire filler across the kitchen, all the wall units, and they redid everything close to perfection. Where
Wow.
the client later on, after it was fixed, knew of the problem. In the
Right.
process, they did not
Of
know.
course not.
But
It goes into
that's our
protecting them and
job.
their peace. Of course.
100%. I would never deliver something like that, and I wouldn't expect to get something like that delivered to me. So I have to protect my client, and that's where the importance of on-site meetings in the field with the GC, with the millwork, with just is goes beyond because that's when you inspect and you could catch mistakes happening
Right.
as they go along. Because at the end of the project, if everything is done and you see that mistake, what are you doing at that point?
Right. Like, what do you do? What can you do?
Right.
Especially when you're on like time crunches like we are.
A
Like,
lot of stress.
it's really good to catch these things early. But so after you finish the construction, the lighting, the millwork aspect, we get into doing the decoration, like with the wall coverings and furnishings. What's the process like selecting those finishes?
So that was a great collaboration with the client because she knew what she wanted. We knew that we were going to go with a beachy, relaxed feel, yet with sort of an elevated elegance as well as biophilic design. So, what's better than being in South Florida in a condo with expanse sliders overlooking the ocean and the
Right.
expanse sand like beaches? So, continue the pull in the exterior into the interior and play on those colors. Now, she wasn't a huge fan of blues, but I convinced her in certain areas to pull the blues in.
Yes, because it's like with those ocean blues, those ocean views, you have to take
Of
advantage, of
course.
course.
But if you look at the rugs and the fabrics, they were all light
Ri-
colors, sand
Yes,
like.
very
Even the veneer in the
sandy,
wall units in the living room was a sand like white oak, whitewashed
so
oak.
beautiful.
And the play on this was to go darker on the floor.
Right.
We used a porcelain wood plank that we ran on a herringbone
Hmm.
pattern. So the play of the porcelain on the colors was gradient from like grays to browns to whites a little
Love
bit.
that.
And as you played with the herringbone, it caught the different lights, which was
Right.
gorgeous. And then on that lay the light sand-like rugs and the sofa, and then it's all layering, right?
Yes. And the the common kind of entertainment area, it has a bit of like a darker palette than the great room. So I think it's really interesting how all of those tones in the hallways that connect those two spaces, it's like it's a nice mixture of those like darker tones and the lighter tones. And it's just it's about creating that seamless flow.
Correct. So
Super
it was a
nice.
yin and yang, right?
Yes.
And so in the great room, we played on light, but in the kids' club room, which I call
Hmm.
it, we reversed it. So we went in a dark kitchen. So we used the dark veneer. We used the dark floors and the darker sofa, and then we incorporated the wall coverings in the ceiling to still carry through that
That
biophilic
biophilic
design.
feel. Yeah.
Exactly, but keep the lightness and the airiness in the drapes, in the banquette, in the table, which we
Yes.
use like a beech wood, kind of like pine color, as well as play on mirror and reflection in the column. Reflection is a huge thing in design and lighting, all the different
Oh,
lightings.
yes. The lighting design, spectacular. Those cove ceilings, especially with the wall coverings.
The
It's just
LEDs, the apparatus, there
beautiful.
was beautiful lighting that went into this project, and the client really was very excited. It was her thing to go with different lighting designs, which was great because,
Great, great idea. Great taste.
you know, your clients trust you and trust your vision to get to that point.
Right, exactly. And that's such a special feeling, I
It's very
bet.
special.
Do you have any particular favorite finishes that you used in this project or furniture pieces that really stood out to you?
So, one of my favorite parts was designing so many different bathrooms and different feels.
Yes.
His bathroom, we used an amazing ombre artistic tile mosaic that followed
Love that.
through from light to dark to light to dark in the floor. And then in her bathroom, I used this floral artistic tile in the accent wall behind the tub, which was beyond. Um, but we did use a lot of cool finishes. We used this ombre beach-like pattern, Philip Jeffries wall covering in their master bedroom
Right.
to kind of flow the feel from what we did in the bathroom into the bedroom, as well as the floor that we carried throughout the unit and the textured paint that I don't like just plain paint on walls.
Right.
either textured paint or wall coverings. I don't like just to see plain white paint.
Yes, I feel like texture is super important in bringing interest to the space, not only on just the walls, but on the fabrics. Like,
Correct,
yes.
100%. And some of the bedrooms were beautiful, the guest bedrooms, and the boys' room is one of my favorite. I love what
Yes.
we did with the carpet and the
So nice. I love that plaid.
plaid
Hmm.
carpet with the trimming and
And the dark blues in there as
yes,
well.
so
Super
there's a
stunning.
lot of beautiful features in the apartment, and it flowed really nicely.
Yeah, just previously mentioned that the client wasn't super keen on the blues at first. So it's like, how do you go about balancing the client's taste with your own designer's like eye for the space and the vision?
Well, you kind of make a case for yourself
Right.
or a case for the story, right? Creating a design is creating a story.
Of course.
So it's very easy to create a story. Well, why did you buy this apartment? Don't you love the ocean blue? And
Of
don't you want
course.
to sit on the balcony and sit and experience relaxation and serenity and everything that comes into play with nature and well-being? And when you kind of present it that way, and part of
Hmm.
your master's in design is learning
Yeah,
psychology, you kind of make a case for the story of the design,
I love
right?
that.
For the client to trust you.
That's so cool. I like that. And as we mentioned before, many rooms, many bathrooms. How do you tackle designing all of these areas within one space without becoming repetitive?
And that's the key. So that goes back to the trade
Right.
shows in our previous
Yes.
podcast is that you constantly have to be at the helm as far as resources and new
Yes.
vendors and new things that are coming into play so you're not repetitive and that you
Right.
keep that creative mind flowing and keep that creativity and flowing the design. You
Yes.
see when we get new samples into the office of things that I saw at the show and we ordered it in Paris and then they come in. I get so excited. Look at what I
Yes.
saw. Look at this and look at this fabric and look at how this plays well with this wall covering and this stone or this viola where like we're just
Yes.
doing a new project and we're incorporating an amazing viola wall where we
Oh, I can't
sourced
wait
it
for
out
that
of
one.
Italy. So, and that's what I'm saying. That's what takes a good designer and makes her or
Agree.
him a great designer
Mhm.
because you need those resources.
100%. It's like doing field research, kind of like sharpening yourself every single
100%.
year to like just stay on top of
And
things.
that's exactly it. You're doing research. Like next week, I'm flying to Arizona
Arizona.
for Sub-Zero Wolf to learn and see and do a walkthrough in their factory to see all their new products. So you're able to educate the clients on everything
Yeah,
with technology and installation and everything that they want to teach the designers.
right.
And it's super important, as busy as you are, to take that time to go and learn so you can
Of
educate your
course.
clients.
Yeah, it makes you a better designer in the long run, and it makes communication more effective, and it makes the clients more confident in what you're doing in their home when you're able to give them a better understanding.
Of course, and I always feel like when clients hear that you travel and you're working on their project for the shows, they're like, "Oh, Sarah, can you source this? Can you find this?" So they get very excited when they know that you're traveling for them and
Of
trying to
course.
source that unique piece.
Exactly, because they don't want cookie cutter. They want their homes to feel unique
Right.
to them.
Exactly.
So that's just such a special feeling. Oh my gosh, she's going abroad to
Yes.
find me the best of the best.
Right.
Like what a nice touching feeling. When you were designing the home, did you use a particular area like as an anchor for the rest of the design?
So definitely, I think that I'm a firm believer that the kitchen is the heart of the home. I always
Agree.
feel like everything starts with the kitchen. Everything surrounds food. Everything surrounds human interaction, social
Yes.
interaction. And how do you get to people, right? The way you get to people is if you cook them a good meal and you feed them.
Right. I
And I
completely
think that
agree.
that's the key for kids. That's the key. And I used to love to cook. I cook less and less now because I'm so busy, but my
Yeah.
husband loves to cook,
Yes.
and he's always in the kitchen and preparing for the kids, and he's kind of giving that to them, and they're learning to do so, and they're enjoying to do so. But I feel like the kitchen is always the heart of the home. So you start with the kitchen and you move
Move out.
outward. And the kitchen in this case, right, we designed two spaces where you had one huge island in a
Mhm.
diamond shape with a
Yes.
server overlooking the dining room, overlooking the living room. So it was just one huge entertainable space where you can have the kids sitting on the island in the kitchen. You can entertain 10 or 12 adults on the dining room table
1000%.
and friends in the living room. So, and that's how the design expanded from there.
Yes, and another one of my favorite features about the kitchen is you were just mentioning that kitchen island that's kind of in a diamond shape, the cove ceiling that mimics the shape of the island. Oh, that
I
was
have to give credit to the
amazing,
client because I was playing around with the way I was going to situate the island. Am I
right?
doing a rectangle? Am I doing a square? I've never in my career had designed a diamond shaped island. And the client actually asked, Sarah, what do you think about a diamond shape? I said, wow, that's interesting. I never thought about that. So I said, wow, it could really work. We
Right,
measured and I said, you know what? Okay, we're going to go with a diamond shaped island, but we're going to mimic the ceiling so it looks like it was meant to be there.
right.
So, one of the hardest challenges, going to your previous
Yes.
question, was centering a J box for a chandelier over the island, a light
Hmm.
fixture, exactly in a diamond shape kitchen. And I'll never forget, I was there with David, Miguel, and me, and we were marking the floor exactly center spot where it was going to fall. And from every angle, it looked like it was a mistake, even though it was
Oh,
dead center. It just looked like it was off from every angle. And I'm like, something's not right. I don't understand. We're measuring
yeah.
exactly every corner of the triangle, and it just comes off looking
Like,
wrong. But eventually we figured it out that like the arms of the chandelier had to be, but it was a little
it was a
challenging.
bit challenging, but you made it work,
Yes.
and the finished product, gorgeous.
Thank you.
But when you were pulling the design for the entire area together, what was the one area that was hardest for you guys to kind of like finalize the design on?
Okay, so the final and most challenging was the club room because I always believe that a designer should kind of push themselves, to break new barriers
Right.
and to see what you can do in design. And when we were designing the club room, kitchen, bar, and banquet area, I wanted to open the entire thing up. And all of a sudden I hit three stacks that were not on the original building drawings.
Oh,
And I said, my God, what am I doing? This falls right into my island, right into my banquette. It ruins the entire design. I said, I got to think about this. Now you have
yeah.
the engineers waiting on answers, you have the architects, you have the GC. And I'm like, I just need quiet. Give me 2 days. Let me come back with what I could do.
Mm.
And I had no choice. I had to kind of
Work
work
around.
around these stacks that
Right.
run along the whole length of the building. So I had to actually shift my island slightly where I incorporated the banquette into the actual stone
Hmm.
countertop of the island. And I had my millwork guy, my fabricator work together, which was very difficult to have it seamless,
Right.
as well as create this box from ceiling to countertop behind. But then I said, okay, what am I going to do? It's center in my island. So the best thing to do to make it an optical illusion is make it reflective. So we cladded it with mirror and it ended up coming out beautiful,
Gorgeous.
but that was
It's a
a
big
big
challenge.
challenge that you're like, how are you going to overcome this?
Right.
And
And
then
you
tell the client, Listen, there's three stacks. I cannot move them. What are you talking about, Sarah? They were not on the original drawings. I said, I agree. They were not, but they're
Right.
there. I
They're
can't do
there. We can't do
anything in
anything about
them,
them now, right?
you know? Second challenge was that the client did not want a seam in her countertop in the
Mhm.
main kitchen. So we had the cranes come to the side of the building and had these slabs delivered through a crane and
That is
10 guys carrying a slab. And I'm sitting there, please don't let them break. Please don't
no.
let them break. But yeah, there was a lot of challenges.
Yeah, but you were able to work through them very smartly and in a way that reduced stress for the client because like they don't know these challenges
Right. They don't
really.
see it. They're
They don't
not there. They see the
exact
finished project.
exactly, but they're not there watching the cranes with the
Right.
slabs. But yeah, were there any finishing touches that you added to the project that made everything just kind of click?
So definitely wall coverings and pillows and throws and fabrics as well as home
Hmm.
accessories. Um, art, you know, the client asked me for certain advice on art, but it was really more curated by them
Right.
because it's more personal. I always say art is very personal,
Yeah.
and we'll do whatever the client wants. We'll either shop with them or we'll shop for them, or we'll bring the art companies in to hang certain art pieces, and then they could decide what they want to keep or what they don't want to keep.
Right.
Um, but the finishing touches really are the accessories, you know, placing photos, family photos into
Yes.
frames and making it homey, making it theirs, you
Right.
know?
Are there any particular design aspects that you are like super, super proud of?
I'm proud of that entire
Of
project. I have to
course.
say, I think the lighting is a major piece in that entire installation because we went with different vendors and we used some exquisite lighting brands like Apparatus, Weeks, and Holly Hunt. They had their own pieces previously that we
Right.
incorporated, and the furnishings, I think we worked with a lot of amazing vendors that helped collaborate on this project, and we were very lucky because it came out beautiful and the client
Of
trusted
course.
our vision.
100%. Are there any particular takeaways that you got from this or any learning experiences that you got from working on the Bellini project?
So, definite takeaways is I know we were in a time crunch. I always say this to clients, please do not rush us on your project because the finish product is the most important. The
Yes, 1000%.
execution of the millwork, of the countertops, of the fabrication. I don't want to jeopardize anything because of speed or to rush people. You're layering, construction is layering. So
Yes.
the countertops cannot come in until the kitchen or the millwork is completed. And so when you rush it, mistakes happen and damages happen. It ends up taking longer
In the long
in
run.
the long run. So that's one major takeaway. In this case, we didn't really have a choice because the client's father was sick and they wanted to do Thanksgiving
Of
in the
course.
apartment, which they did, and they were very grateful for. But other takeaways is that you can resolve anything in a calmer fashion
Right.
and work with your vendors and collaborate and not collide with them because at the end of the day, you need them and they are the ones
100%.
that make you look good.
It's a relationship and
100%.
being able to depend and trust in each other and collaborate in an effective way, super, super important.
Right? Correct.
Are there any things that you would have done differently now that you're looking back? Anything you would have changed?
I don't think so. It
No.
was wonderful. And I always say this, and I think I said it in one of the
Mhm.
first podcasts, is that design is energy infused. We
A
infuse
thousand
our
percent.
passion, our heart and soul. So the clients, if they're good clients, which these clients were amazing,
Phenomenal.
um, their energy was great. Their overall persona was great. So it just went smoothly. And like their energy, as well as my energy combined and the team's energy
Right.
went into this project, which ended up making
Right.
it a great
A
project.
beautiful, beautiful product came out of it because everyone's
Thank
head
you.
and heart were in the right place.
Right, we're
And with,
putting our passion
yes,
and our heart and soul into it.
yeah, and it's like it's reflected in the design.
Thank you.
And why do you think, well, this is one of our most popular projects. We hear a lot about it. People love to see it, especially in our advertisements.
Right.
We've gotten many awards for Bellini. Why do you think this particular project resonates so much with so many people?
The size,
What
definitely, and how do you
sizes?
incorporate so many how do you flow a style in so many bathrooms and bedrooms to make it seamless and cohesive? I think the kind of story behind it and the situated um views of it as well.
Right.
So I think that part of nature and the biophilic design aspect of it that we
Yes.
incorporate, we do it and we do it so well with
Right.
fractal designs and all these textures that I think is an inspiration and as it should be to a lot of designers that
Right.
think that biophilic design is throwing a
A little
tree
tree,
or a
some green
plant or
here.
some wood walls, which is not the case at all.
No,
It's
because
not. It's part of it, but it's not all of it.
exactly. And biophilic design, as we've mentioned before, it kind of shifts
Of
based on
course.
your environment.
Right.
You wouldn't design a condo in South Florida the same way you would design a place in Arizona.
Right.
Different views,
100%. Different views, different feels, different colors, different
different
textures.
vibes. 100%. That wraps our first concept to completion segment.
Okay.
We did it. So if you loved hearing about the Bellini project and the behind the scenes, please let us know what projects you'd like to hear about next. We're happy to do it.
You can also see the Bellini project, which was aired on SoFlo, which is on YouTube.
Hmm.
So you could get more behind the scenes and actually tour the space, which was beautiful.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Like,
joining us.
comment, and subscribe. Bye,
Bye.
guys.